Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. An End of an Era, written by Chapathi. When we found the humans, all those centuries ago, we had no idea what monster we had unleashed on the galaxy. They were creative, but lacked our vision in scientific matters. We believed ourselves above them. Our Grand Magistrate Alpha believed them to be ideal warriors for our conquering armies, and ordered us to rebuild their population after we bombed their planet to ash. We built orbital stations and prepared a nearby barren planet for habitation while we rebuilt their planets. As they occupied orbital stations, we sped up the process of breeding them by mixing genes in artificial wombs. We bred them as quickly as we could to prepare them for the role on the galactic battlefields. We indoctrinated them as children to accept us as their benevolent benefactors, guiding them away from their primitive past. How naive we were to believe that something as pure as hatred could be completely removed from the psyche of an entire race. We'd always believed that the Scion song was the pinnacle of Xeno interaction, melding words, emotions, and thoughts into one entity that we and a chosen race could understand. It allowed us to speak to Xenos we had just encountered and could be understood without guidance. It removed the language barriers that made integration into our empire difficult. What it also removed was the primary thing keeping humans apart. In hindsight, it's obvious, but at the time we had no idea how something as ubiquitous as the song could lead to our downfall. Humans have an infuriating affinity for forming groups. Regardless of the situation, be assured that a human will find something to draw a line over. Perhaps being pack species by nature emphasized this. The end result was that humans would as constantly seek to affirm their beliefs by finding others who thought the same, by giving them a song that unified them by species rather than ethnicity or nationality. We unified the humans far more than they ever could. Our indoctrinated humans were rejected outright despite our efforts to make them appealing to associate with. Movements against us were constant, and hatred for our kind was ever present. Every time we purged the station of anti-violence sentiment, another would rise. If they were not needed in such great numbers, we would never have allowed them to exist. Their ability in combat was not what defined them. They died just like any other species. Perhaps they were arguably better at dying slower, but a shot to the gut usually put them down. What defined them, though, was how little they cared for their own personal safety. They readily ignored danger and fought against the odds that any other species would cave in. They fought with their backs against the wall and by each other's side. We took advantage of this and formed armies from one colony to ensure that they would die for each other. The victories they gave us blinded us further. When the humans requested that they have human officers, we allowed it. Why fight alongside a lesser species when we could use our superior intellect to guide from the rear? When they requested they have their own fleets, we allowed it. Why lose our own superior ships when inferior escorts would allow it to be lost? Every time we had the chance to show humans we were in charge, we took the easy way out. And so, there we were, humans unified by one song, fighting alongside their friends, with access to their own fleet. The chosen we put in charge exerted their influence and tried to maintain control. But if there's one thing humans hated more than us, it was traitors to their race. Hate crimes against the chosen were frequent, and we enforced discipline as needed, but it never dissuaded the humans. We sent a Bergen hordes to pillage colonies that showed disloyalty, but the humans had earned Bergen respect on the battlefield. We foisted Nakota assassins on their leadership, but the Nakota and the humans were in a league with each other. When we came to our senses and realized how far the disloyalty went, we raised our own armies from old colonies and prepared to purge the traitor Xeno. The 500 years of peace that our race enjoyed had deprived us of our warrior spirit. Those who could fight were in such few number to be irrelevant, and those who were forced to fight were cowards and incompetent. The miracles of technology held the odds in our favor for some time. Humans, in their brutish power armor, were target practice for the immortal warriors of Jade Tide's turning fire. We had no need for reinforcements at first, when we had the initiative. One warrior could cleanse an entire colony of dissenters, but things slowly began to turn. We committed every immortal we had to the task of quelling the uprising, but even if 1,000,000 died before one of our immortals fell, it was still an irreplaceable loss. As our veteran warriors fell, there were fewer to teach the recruits who'd never held a weapon in their lives, who in turn were forced into the fire before them. As we lost the planets, we wizened to the tactics of the traitor Xeno. We armed our ships with as many weapons as we could, and we cut a swath through their vast suites of inferior ships without loss. Had we only needed to deal with the 3 inferior races, the Dakota, the Bargain, and the humans, we would eventually deplete their reserves. But the galaxy is a very large place, and we had made many enemies in it. In our golden age of conquest, we had fleets in every corner of the Empire and armies ready to strike down raiders and invasions with an unrelenting force. But with our fleets focused inward and our armies scattered to the solar dust, 2,000 years of retribution was given to our illustrious empire. The Perselians were the first to strike. Their smugglings delivered weapons and shipbuilding expertise to worlds not under blockade, and their primary fleet struck at our outer colonies. Our administration was paralyzed, and for several days nothing was done, while our mining operations and space facilities were sacked. By the time we were able to react, several smaller empires had joined the conflict and drove into our territory. We abandoned our hold over rebel space and focused on a larger threat. Free from blockades, the rebels renewed their liberation of territories. With the 7 Empire force bearing down on us, there was nothing that we could do. The Burgan retook territory we claimed in the pacification wars 5 centuries ago, and the Nakota reformed the 7 Rings Empire we'd crushed 3 centuries prior. The humans stole as much of the neighboring territory as they could take. By the time the invaders reached our core worlds, they were ripe for the taking. Many chose death over facing the retribution, and scions screamed in agony as they felt their fellow scions die and faced neuroclamping across the Empire. Our leaders abandoned us and fled to neutral systems, leaving everyone else to face the fires alone. The Treaty of the Ashen Winds was the final time the Varlands held a position of power. Perselians reclaimed their former planets from our outer regions, rich in ore and infrastructure. The smaller empire snatched the leftovers, and the Perselians couldn't reasonably claim. The Bergen, Nakota, and humans were given divided territory in the region. Varland citizens were stripped of their social status except for a select few. Some Varlands who studied or served under Xenos betrayed their race as the rebellion came to full swing. Those traitors were given deals and offers of safe haven as heroes, while the rest of us were damned to second-class citizenry. In the wake of all of this, the 3 Xenos allied to the Republic of Yorso, the neutral planet of all 3 held where the Republic was made. As for the Varlands people, most withered away and scattered to the heavens or died of shame in the wake of the collapse. As for I persevere and record the last flames of the Varlands so that history of my people will be complete. The Last Librarian. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons: Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.